I came back from deployment early and overheard my wife say, "I know you want me. Give it to me like you used to." I walked in, right? I'd just gotten back from deployment early, so the first thing I expected was the usual routine. A little chaos, a lot of catching up, and maybe a few awkward hugs from family. But what I didn't expect was hearing my wife get screwed by some junkie. I dropped my duffel bag by the door, hearing her voice, clear as day, from the other room. "I know you want me. Give it to me like you used to." Now, you're probably thinking that maybe I misheard or I was just being paranoid. Nope. I'm telling you, I heard it loud and clear. And my first thought? What the hell? So, I'm standing there, right? Just frozen, my heart pounding like I'm back on the front lines again. I know it sounds dramatic, but that's honestly how it felt. You know when something doesn't quite make sense, but you're too caught up in the moment to figure it out? I hear her laugh, and it sounds off. Almost like she's trying too hard to sound normal. Like when you're trying to cover up something, and you just can't. I don't know what made me do it, but instead of just walking into the living room and confronting her immediately, I took a second, maybe a couple, just to gather myself, you know? I mean, shit, I'd been gone for months. But that line stuck with me. I could feel my stomach tighten. I wasn't ready for whatever the hell I was about to walk into. I stepped forward, slowly, trying to stay cool. By the time I reached the living room, she was standing there, adjusting her shirt like nothing was wrong. But I could see it on her face. It was like she knew something was coming, and she couldn't hide it. I cleared my throat, trying to keep my voice even. "Who were you talking to?" She jumped a little, like I had caught her off guard. But she recovered quick, forced a smile, and said, "Oh, just the TV. Was watching a show. You know how it is." Bullshit. The vibe in the air was thick, man. And I wasn't buying it for a second. But what do you do when your brain's telling you one thing, and everything around you is suggesting another? So I just stood there for a minute, trying to process it all. I mean, hell, I had just gotten back. I hadn't even had time to grab a beer and relax. And here she was, acting like she'd been holding the fort down all on her own, maybe a little too well. The silence stretched, and for the first time since I got home, I felt completely out of place. Not because of the war, not because of the usual post-deployment weirdness, but because of her. She wasn't the same, and I wasn't sure if I was. I opened my mouth to say something, but she cut me off with one of those nervous laughs. "Come on, babe. Don't be like that." But that was the thing, right? I wasn't mad. I wasn't even angry. I was confused. And that was the worst part. Because I didn't want to believe what my gut was telling me. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't just pretend everything was fine either. Then, she said something else that threw me off completely. "Are you hungry? I can make you something. You must be starving." She was acting way too normal, too casual, like everything was just fine. I shook my head. It didn't add up. Nothing was adding up. And my mind was racing, thinking back to those last few months of deployment. I couldn't exactly call her every day, couldn't check in like I wanted to. She was supposed to be waiting for me, right? But the vibe? The way she was talking? Something wasn't sitting right with me. I just stared at her. Didn't say a word. I couldn't. All right, so here's where things got real weird. Like, I was still standing there, just looking at her, trying to piece everything together in my head. I mean, after that little slip-up, it felt like the world around me was spinning. You know when you get that gut feeling? The one that says something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's where I was. She looked at me, trying to keep it together, but I could see it in her eyes. Something was off. She wasn't acting like the girl I left behind. Hell, I wasn't the guy who left either. But still, I tried to push it down, tried to act like it wasn't happening. But she wasn't making it easy. She started pacing a little, real quick movements, like she was nervous, but trying to hide it. "Everything's fine, right?" she asked, her voice a little too high-pitched. "I mean, you're back, we're good. You good?" I almost wanted to laugh, but instead, I just shook my head. Don't play that game with me. The thing is, I didn't want to be the guy who freaks out on her. I didn't want to start accusations before I even had anything concrete, but this felt like more than just a misunderstanding. And then it hit me. Something I hadn't thought about until just then. The tone of her voice, the way she reacted, the way she was acting. It all felt familiar. Way too familiar. It felt like the way someone tries to cover up a lie. Like she knew I'd caught her in the middle of something, but she was hoping I wouldn't notice. Before I could process all that, she went into full damage control mode. You know, that whole thing where they pretend like they're trying to make it all better, but you just know it's too late? Yeah, she did that. She took a couple steps towards me and then gave me this awkward hug. Not the kind of hug you get when you're genuinely happy to see someone. This was more like she was trying to keep me at arm's length without showing it. Come on, she said. Let's just sit down. It's been so long. I missed you, okay? I felt the tension in the air. It wasn't the kind of tension you get when someone's genuinely excited to see you after months apart. It felt more like the kind of tension you feel when you know things have already shifted. And not in a good way. I sat down, but I wasn't really there. I wasn't present. My mind was stuck on that damn sentence I heard. The whole thing just kept playing over and over in my head like a broken record. I know you want me. Give it to me like you used to. The words sounded different now. Heavier, more sinister, and now I couldn't shake the thought that maybe there was something I didn't know. Then she did something I wasn't expecting. She tried to kiss me. Now look, I get it, right? She's probably trying to act like everything's normal, like nothing's wrong. But the way she went about it? It felt off. Like she was trying way too hard. And it didn't help that I wasn't feeling it at all. When she leaned in, I froze. I didn't pull away, but I didn't respond either. I just sat there, letting her kiss me, but the whole time I felt like I was somewhere else. Like, my mind was a million miles away, and my body was just going through the motions. She pulled back, looking at me like she was searching for something. You okay? She asked. But there was no conviction behind it. It wasn't the question of someone who genuinely cared. It was the question of someone who was trying to convince herself that everything was fine. And that's when I couldn't hold it in anymore. I had to ask. I had to know. My voice came out quieter than I meant, but it still hit her. Who were you talking to earlier? I asked, my eyes locking onto hers. And don't say the TV, because I know what I heard. For a second, she just stood there, like the words didn't quite register. But then it hit her, and I saw it. The panic, the shift in her eyes. I saw the mask slip for just a second, and in that moment, I knew. I knew exactly what had been going on while I was away. Her face turned pale, and she opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. It was like she was searching for a lie to tell me, but she couldn't find one. Finally, she just said, "You don't understand." I was just. No. I cut her off, my voice a little sharper now. You don't get to just brush that off. You don't get to pretend like everything's okay when I heard you talking like that. There was no way around it. The reality of what I was hearing, of what I was piecing together, hit me like a freight train. The gut feeling I had earlier? It was right. But I wasn't ready for the next part. The part that would change everything. She took a step back, her arms wrapping around herself like she was trying to protect herself from what was coming. And then, with a sigh, she said it. I wasn't just talking to anyone, she said, her voice cracking. I was talking to a friend. He's been helping me out while you were gone. That hit me like a punch to the gut. A friend? Yeah, right. I could feel my hands start to tremble as I tried to process what she was saying. My mind was racing, but I couldn't put the pieces together fast enough. She kept talking, but I couldn't hear her anymore. I was too busy replaying that sentence in my head, trying to figure out what kind of help she needed. What kind of friend had she been confiding in? It felt like I was drowning, like the air around me was thick, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't catch my breath. I wish I could have stopped it right there, but I couldn't. So, after everything went down, I tried to keep my cool. I really did. I sat there in the living room, still processing the shock of walking in on what I did, but it didn't feel like the world had completely ended yet. Maybe I was still in some kind of denial phase. You know, when you don't know whether to explode, cry, or just laugh at the absurdity of it all. But then, just as I was about to get up and confront the situation, when I was ready to ask all those questions I knew would hurt too much, but that I also needed answers to, things got weird. I'll admit, I wasn't expecting what happened next. I thought the confrontation was inevitable, but it didn't go down the way I imagined. I heard footsteps from the hallway. I thought it was her coming back, bracing herself to say whatever half-assed explanation she could come up with. But when I looked up, it wasn't her. It was Tom, my brother. Yeah, you read that right. My brother. He was standing in the doorway, wearing his usual confident grin, like he hadn't just walked into a minefield. I don't know if I should have been more shocked at him showing up uninvited or at the fact that I realized, in that moment, how incredibly strange it was that I hadn't heard from him in months. But, of course, here he was, showing up at my place at the exact moment everything fell apart. Tom raised an eyebrow, clearly sensing the tension in the room. You all right, man? I was in shock, like complete shock. I didn't even know what to say. Here I was, trying to figure out what the hell I had just walked into, and my brother, of all people, was standing there like it was any other day. I managed a dry laugh, but it came out more like a nervous cough. Yeah, just great. Everything's great, I said, the sarcasm dripping in every word. I had no idea what kind of twisted joke the universe was playing on me right now, but I wasn't in the mood to humor it. He walked in without hesitation, looking around as if he were casually stepping into a normal, family reunion kind of situation. But something in his eyes. I could tell he wasn't just here by accident. Something was off. Look, man, we need to talk, Tom said. His voice wasn't the usual easygoing tone he had. This time, there was an edge to it. A seriousness I wasn't used to hearing from him. He sat down on the couch next to me without waiting for an invitation, still grinning like he didn't have a care in the world. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. About what? I asked, still confused, but now starting to feel a different kind of tension. Tom glanced over at the hallway, where I knew she was still hiding. Maybe she didn't want to face me, or maybe she didn't want to face what was coming. Either way, I could tell by the way he shifted his posture that he wasn't just here to give me some heart-to-heart brotherly advice. I'm not the one who's got to explain things to you, he said, his voice dropping lower, the smile now gone. It was like he was talking to me, but not in the way I expected, not in the casual brotherly way I knew. Before I could even ask what the hell that meant, he dropped the bomb. I didn't think you'd ever find out, honestly. But now that you're here, look, man, I'm sorry. I messed up. My stomach twisted. I was trying to process the words he was saying, but nothing made sense. Did I hear that right? You messed up? What the hell are you talking about? Tom didn't look me in the eyes anymore. He stared down at his hands, and for a second, I thought he might just confess to some random mistake. Maybe he broke something, or took my car out without asking. Something stupid. But no, it wasn't that simple. She's been seeing me for months. I thought you knew, he said, his voice low, like he was afraid of saying the words out loud. I sat there, frozen, like a statue made of disbelief. What? Was he serious? He continued, but everything blurred together. I didn't want to hurt you, but I don't know, man. It just happened. We didn't plan it. It just happened. My chest felt like it was caving in. The world seemed to go silent for a second. I could feel every part of me wanting to scream or throw something, but I was frozen. Not because I couldn't move. No, it was because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Tom and her. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about my brother, the one guy who I thought I could trust, breaking everything we had as a family apart. And for what? I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, I saw him for what he really was, a stranger. A complete stranger. You've been seeing my wife? I finally choked out, trying to keep the anger from breaking my voice. Tom nodded, his expression turning darker. Yeah, we didn't want this to happen. It was never supposed to go this far. But, I don't know. It just happened. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. My mind was racing in 1,000 directions, each one worse than the last. I couldn't even process the words, the weight of it all. I mean, what could you even say to that? I was betrayed, not just by my wife, but by my own brother. This was the kind of betrayal you don't even know how to handle. Why? Was all I could get out. Why her? He shook his head, almost like he was disgusted with himself. I don't know. It wasn't planned. It wasn't even like that at first. But when you're gone, man, she needed someone, and I guess I was there. I didn't know what to do with that. Should I scream? Punch him? Or just leave? Nothing felt right. The worst part was, part of me wanted to hear more. Part of me wanted to hear every twisted, horrible detail. Because maybe that would explain it, give me something to make sense of it. But I knew that if I let myself go down that path, I might never come back. Tom stood up slowly, like he was waiting for me to say something, to react. But I didn't. I just sat there, my hands clenched tight on the couch, staring at nothing in particular. Look, man, he said, his voice softer now, I'm sorry. I really am. I know this doesn't fix anything. But I just wanted you to know. I didn't answer. Because nothing he could say would make it better. Nothing could make it hurt less. And just like that, he turned and walked out of the room, leaving me sitting there in the mess of my life, with nothing left to say, nothing left to feel. Just empty. I leaned back, the full weight of his words settling in like 1,000-pound weight on my chest. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He couldn't. Hell, I don't even think he could look at himself. But what was left to say? What could be said to fix this, to make any of it better? There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. You just don't get it, do you? I said, my voice shaking with anger, disbelief, and something else, something I couldn't quite identify. I looked at him, standing there like he didn't just destroy everything in one breath. You don't get that you've just ruined everything. Not just my life, but the trust one thought we had. The one thing I thought was mine, my family gone. Just like that. Tom didn't say anything. His eyes flickered toward the hallway again. He wanted to say something, but what could he possibly say? There was no excuse. Nothing that would make this okay. I stood up, my fists clenching, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to throw something or just collapse from exhaustion. I wasn't mad anymore, not in the way I thought I'd be. The rage was fading, but the emptiness was taking its place. The trust I'd had in everything, her, him, my life, just shattered in the space of a few minutes. I thought I knew you, Tom, I said, my voice now quieter. But I was wrong. I didn't know either of you. There was a long silence after that. Neither of us spoke, both of us caught in this suffocating moment where the words felt too big and the truth too brutal to acknowledge. Finally, I took a step toward the door because I didn't want to be in that house anymore. I didn't want to be in that moment anymore. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, and I needed air. I needed space. But before I reached for the door, something caught my eye. It was her. She had come out of the hallway, looking at us like she had no idea how to even start explaining herself. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the same way I saw it in Tom's. The betrayal was written all over her face. But it wasn't just that. It was the confusion, the realization that everything had just collapsed in front of her, too. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't want this to happen. I almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just pain. Don't say sorry like it fixes anything. I snapped. But there was something hollow about my words now. I wasn't angry with her anymore. I was just exhausted. Tom, finally speaking up again, looked up at me with a pained expression. "We never meant to hurt you, man. We never did. It just happened." But there was no way to explain it. There was no way to take it back. "Do you even realize what this means? I trusted both of you," I said, shaking my head. "My own brother. My wife. I thought you were the people I could rely on. But you're just, like everyone else, aren't you? Just out for yourselves." There was a flicker of something in their eyes, but it was too late for them to make it right. All the words in the world wouldn't change what had already happened. The truth was there, hanging in the air like a dark cloud. Nothing would ever be the same. I stood there for a few more moments, just staring at them, the weight of everything crashing down on me. Then, finally, I turned, walked out the door, and didn't look back. It's been a few months since that night. Honestly, I don't know what's left for me to say. I cut off contact with both of them. I needed time to think, time to heal. Tom tried reaching out a few times, but I ignored him. And her? She sent me a few messages, apologizing, but nothing changed. I couldn't go back to the way things were. I couldn't pretend like everything was fine. As for me, I took a step back from everything. I started focusing on myself. The guy who walked into that house, the guy who trusted everyone around him without a second thought, he's gone. And in his place, I'm learning how to rebuild. It's not easy, but it's something I need to do. Some days, I still think about it. About how the people I love the most could just shatter everything without even thinking about the consequences. But in the end, maybe that's the lesson. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you in ways you never thought possible. But that doesn't mean you have to let them keep you down. I'll get through it. I'm already working on it. And as for Tom and her, well, life moves on, and I can't dwell on them forever. They have to live with what they did, and I'm sure they will. I'm the one who gets to move forward. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. This story was uploaded to Reddit by an anonymous user. I personally believe veterans should deserve more than this. If you agree, it would mean the world to me if you hit subscribe to never miss out on a story again.